accuracy. Now, somewhat related to accuracy goals, or that goals per inside 50, another very key statistic. How efficient are you at converting inside 50s into scoring? It's not just scoring, I guess, not just points, but goals. And this is goals per inside 50. We can also do scoring shots per inside 50 or shots at goal. Now, the goals per, all of these are important. Goals per inside 50, Adelaide are at the top, then Collingwood, Geelong, Brisbane, Sydney, etc., etc. Carlton are very low down, Melbourne are very low down, both below the AFL average. West Coast, for all these stats so far, have genuinely been dead last as well. Now, scoring shots per inside 50 is another interesting tale. It's Adelaide are once again first, Collingwood now dropping down to fifth, but Brisbane are second, Geelong, Port Adelaide, Collingwood, Sydney, a lot of good teams. Carlton are now in the top half above AFL average. A concerning stat for Melbourne is goals and scoring shots per inside 50. They are towards the bottom four. GWS also under AFL average for those stats, so that is a concerning stat. They are just not that efficient at turning, inside 50s and territory into scores. Now, scores per inside 50 is relatively the same. Adelaide at the top, Port Adelaide are up there, Collingwood are up there, etc., etc. But once again, Melbourne are really low down. St Kilda is quite low down on all these stats as well, but they did have a lot of injuries, which we'll get onto a little bit later. Carlton pretty low down there. So generally, from all these scoring goals, scoring shots per inside 50, Adelaide, Port Adelaide, Brisbane and Collingwood do very well. Carlton are a bit mixed, but Melbourne are the pretty big outlier. We're mainly talking about the bigger teams here who should be doing well in 2024. They are a big outlier. North Melbourne finished dead last for one of these stats, which is quite funny. Now for my favorite type of statistic, expected goals, expected scores. This is a stat that, in the Premier League or in soccer, football, it's all over the web. It's everywhere. Everyone talks about expected goals. Now, in context of the AFL, we'll talk about the average expected goals per game, which excludes rush behind. So average expected goals, average expected scores per game. Based on all the stats, that the world is so good at these days, what should your team be scoring per game? Put Adelaide at the top, which is a very key statistic. Brisbane in second. Adelaide once again in third place. Adelaide and Port Adelaide have very impressive statistics which bode well with them, and that should hold them in good stead in 2024. GWS are in fourth place. All these teams are great. Sydney in fifth place, another good team. Geelong in sixth. Not sure about that. Melbourne and then Collingwood. All those teams are above the AFL average. Dead last, West Coast, North Melbourne second last, Hawthorn third last, Fremantle fourth last, St Kilda in fifth last. Another concerning stat for St Kilda. Essendon come a little bit later. Carlton sit in, I believe, 8th last or 10th place below the AFL average for, expected scores, which is a was actually a really bad stat for them. The fact they sit below the likes of Richmond, Geelong, the Dogs, but they do sit above all the other bad teams, Gold Coast, Essendon, St Kilda, blah, blah, blah. But if you're a Carlton fan, that is not a good